At the moment, India uses heavy tanks, the T-90 and T-72, way up in the Ladakh heights. These are far too heavy and unwieldy for operations in the rarefied atmosphere. And so, Zorawar was designed and developed in 21 months straight. Weighing in at 25 tons, close to half the weight of the older tanks, the Zorawar can be easily airlifted and is built with the future in mind. Upgradability. Designed to operate with drones, it'll also feature an active protection system, a system which intercepts incoming missiles and rockets to protect the tank. But these upgrades will come later. At the moment, the army appears committed to the tank, which is being trialled not just in high altitude areas, but also the desert. The Zorawar weighs 25 tons. It has a power-to-weight ratio of 30 horsepower per ton. That's key in the mountains. It has a 1,000 horsepower engine. It's amphibious. It can ford rivers and lakes. It can fire missiles, has a 105mm main gun, a 12.7mm remote-controlled weapon station, and a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun. In trials in September last year at the Mahajan firing range near Bikaner, the Zorawar hit its targets with pinpoint accuracy, using its Belgian-designed gun, proving its lethality. Zorawar's development is a triumph of collaboration and indigenization. Led by the Defense Research and Development Organization and Larsen & Toubro, with contributions from micro, small and medium enterprises, the tank boasts over 70% indigenous content. From its hull to advanced systems, Indian industries have risen to the challenge, reducing reliance on foreign technology. Unlike the Arjun main battle tank, which faced delays and cost overruns because of an overemphasis on full indigenization, the Zorawar takes a pragmatic approach, incorporating foreign components like the Cummins engine and the Cockerell gun turret while pushing for local manufacturing. The army may eventually end up operating 700 Zorawar tanks.
India and US teams have started their trade talks. Delegations led by Brendan Lynch holding talks with the chief negotiator here in India. That's in fact our first story. We have a lot more coming up. Let's get you what else is on the radar today. And it's Trump on Monday that has said that he's suing American Daily, the New York Times, over his coverage of him over the last of many decades, calling it the most degenerate newspaper. Israel heavily bombarded Gaza City. Well, it is Donald Trump now suing the newspaper New York Times, and this is for $15 billion US. And Israel heavily bombarded Gaza City after US Secretary of State Marco Rubio backed Israelis' goal of eradicating Hamas and warned that only days may be left for a diplomatic solution. And Google sets out $6.8 billion US. This is going to be in investment in the United Kingdom ahead of Trump's state visit that's going to be taking place later today in artificial intelligence. And in a big setback as far as the Pakistan Cricket Board is concerned, the International Cricket Council has rejected its request to remove the match referee over his actions in the no handshake controversy. A very good afternoon. You're watching, this is NDTV's India Global. I'm Divya. Let's get your top story. And this is after almost 2 months of Trump's tariff tirades with unending and baseless attacks levied against New Delhi by Washington. Now, trade talks are in fact, they have resumed between the two countries, as that is what took place today. This is a meeting that's underway. This is with Chief Negotiator from the United States, Brendan Lynch, who's here holding those closed-door meetings. And this is a meeting that's taking place in the national capital with the Chief Indian Negotiator, Rajesh Agrawal. The broader focus of the trade talks will be centered on new steps required to enhance bilateral trade across the goods and services sector, increasing market access, reducing tariffs and non-tariff barriers, and deepening supply chain integration as well. Officials say that the talks, this is the first since Trump's tariffs that kicked in. Do remember, 50% tariffs is what India is looking at for exporting goods to the United States. Now, this is after calling him a good friend. Donald Trump, referring to Prime Minister Modi, has now come back to that negotiating table, and that has started today in the national capital. So this really comes about after Donald Trump said that he was optimistic about concluding a trade agreement with India. And in response, Prime Minister Modi said that trade negotiations would pave the way for unlocking the limitless potential that the two countries have, and this friendship and this partnership can bring about. And it's not just Donald Trump who made that announcement with Prime Minister Modi there as well, but it was Piyush Goyal who in fact said that on the NDTV conclave, that he was very hopeful that things would be happening. In fact, he's gone on to say now that it could happen within 2 months' time, between now and November, when we could have that trade deal that could be signed upon. And of course, we have seen 5 rounds of talks that have taken place so far. The 6th round was supposed to take place at the end of August, but all that was put on hold. Why? Because the tariffs came into effect. This was the additional 25% tariffs that have been slapped by Donald Trump. Why? For buying Russian oil. That is the charge against India, and that was the condition in order to remove those additional reciprocatory tariffs. And of course, it is Peter Navarro who has been hitting out at India for, providing, the United States goods, but also talking about the kind of tariffs that India poses against countries like the United States. And these are reciprocatory tariffs that have come into effect, and this is the additional 25%, taking that whole toll to the exporters who have been facing that 50% tariff, which basically means that most of those orders haven't been renewed. But of course, the government, they're saying that they were looking for alternatives, because it was Prime Minister Modi who was looking out for the farmers, saying that he would continue to back the farmers, and that was a non-negotiable. But the negotiations are back on. They're back on the table with this closed-door meeting that's taking place here in the national capital. It's a one-day meeting that is taking place between the Chief Negotiating Officer and from the US side and from the Indian side. So we have both of those who are holding that trade negotiation, these talks that were meant to in fact take place last month, but that delay that we have been seeing only because the tariffs came into effect. So it is back on the negotiating table, and this crucial meeting that's taking place. We're talking about Rajesh Agrawal holding that meeting with, we are seeing that very crucial meeting that is taking place at the moment. And this is in regard to the future when it comes to the trade, the trade tariffs. That is something that is being discussed as far as US Trade Representative for South and Central Asia, Brendan Lynch, who's here in India, having that talk, this bilateral trade agreement with his Indian counterpart, that is Rajesh Agrawal. So India so far, of course, has held 5 rounds of negotiations in the United States, and this was supposed to take place on the 25th and the 29th, but was postponed. Now, this is a very important meeting coming out, and all eyes on the outcome of this meeting. Do know that there would be another round of, there would be a couple of rounds before that dotted line can be signed, but all hopes are high, particularly the hopes of the exporters here in India. So when we talk about the US Chief Negotiator, he is an expert when it comes to agriculture and manufacturing. So that is something, that, is totally being discussed. And of course, we're talking about Rajesh Agrawal. Rajesh Agrawal is the Special Secretary in the Department of Commerce. Here, the non-negotiables as far as India is concerned. Do remember that what was really said and what was a break or make as far as the deal is concerned is the backing of the farmers. And that is the stand that the Prime Minister took. And he said that, in order to gain some, you need to lose some, and that he would not negotiate if it came to the farmers of India, and that he would always have their back. But also, they were also talking about finding an alternative to the exporters who put out a lot of stuff. They export a lot of stuff as far as the US is concerned, and to find an alternative to them. Of course, this tariff war has been beneficial to other countries, particularly Vietnam and other Southeast Asian countries. But, as far as India is concerned, this very crucial meeting that is taking place here in the national capital. We do know that there would be multiple other rounds that could perhaps be taking place, but that dotted line perhaps could be signed, if all goes well, by November, if not earlier, is what Piyush Goyal had to say. Right, so this is a very crucial meeting, a lot riding on this in regard to India and, its exporters, which now what we really do know as far as the chief negotiators are concerned, they are holding that very closed door meeting. These are talks that are centered on enhancing bilateral trade. Sources are saying that talks are expected to pave the way as far as the round of talks. This is a deadline for the first, this is the first such a meeting of the pact that is going to be taking place perhaps in November. The aim is to double bilateral trade. That is the deal. So this is really going to be, setting the pace when it comes to the road ahead. And this might just take a few more months before all things are finally settled. But both the parties have come on the table. Donald Trump calling Prime Minister Modi his good friend, saying that he was ready to, negotiate, saying that, he's a great leader. We've, there's that bonhomie that's back between the two leaders. Vishal joining us in order to get us the latest. Vishal, of course, too early to tell as to what's really happening between the two, sides meeting over that table in order to pave the way for what could be coming about in a few months' time from now. The outcome of this meeting is something that we're all waiting for. Vishal.
Yeah, that's exactly. We're all waiting for the outcome, and this is the first sign that there's some kind of thaw between both the sides, and we've been waiting for this moment, and the meeting is underway. We are waiting for the results of the meeting. This meeting, what happens in the meeting is still under wraps. We'll have to wait for the meeting to get over. As we've been discussing throughout, there are several things that need to be ironed out before we have some sort of an agreement, because there are many things that need to be addressed as far as both the sides are concerned. The first one is India has drawn a big red line when it comes to dairy and agriculture sectors, because around 50% of the India's working population is dependent on the agriculture sector. So that's one thing India is not willing to relent on. And the other one is the dairy sector, which also has similar implications. And on the other hand, the US side is concerned because it wants access of the huge Indian agriculture market, and also it wants to export US corn because it is the biggest exporter of corn and also the cheapest exporter of corn. So it wants India to have that share of corn that US produces, but India already has its fair share of corn production, and India's policy dictates that it cannot have genetically modified corns in India's territory. So these things will have to be ironed out. We'll have to wait for the next round of talks. These are officially the initial level of talks before we have the sixth round of talks, and then probably there will be the first tranche of agreement that will be signed in the fall of this year, which will be around the towards the end of November. We'll have to wait for all of that, but these are some good signs. Definitely there will be some positive results coming out of this meeting.
Right, Vishal, stay with us for the next story as well. And this is basically in regard to, let's get you the very latest that's coming about now. And this is with Donald Trump there suing the New York Times. Why? Because of the coverage of Donald Trump over the last few decades. The American leader said that he's bringing in a $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the publication that he labeled as a virtual mouthpiece for the radical left Democrat Party. In order to know more on this, Vishal back with us. Vishal, a lot has to do with the Epstein file reports.
Yeah, so has been the assumption, because he is not directly named that the Epstein files are to be blamed for this big $15 billion defamation lawsuit. But he has indicated that the New York Times has time and again tried to defame Trump in many ways. He has, indicated that in the run-up to the 2024 presidential elections, it's a lot of articles were published by the New York Times, and also a few books published by the New York Times that sort of try to malign Donald Trump's image, and that is what he's fighting against, this huge $15 billion case against the huge publication in the US. We'll have to say, wait what New York Times said, because so far, and New York Times has not responded on this huge story. So it will have to be seen how they respond to this great lawsuit from the Trump side. To say that this is solely based on the Epstein files will be sort of a premature. He's not, as I mentioned, clearly mentioned those files, but it is quite safe to assume so, because in the recent past, a lot of these stories by
Right. Thank you so much, Vishal, for getting us the very latest. In other news, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has announced that Washington and Beijing have reached a framework agreement. This is basically in regard to the ownership of TikTok's American operations. Basically saying that the understanding was set. This was during trade talks in Madrid and would allow for U.S. ownership, with President Trump as well as Xi Jinping expected to finalize that deal, and that could happen as early as Friday. Trump has now taken to social media site Truth and said that negotiations had gone very well, while China has gone on to say that they've confirmed the framework agreement, but emphasized that no deal would come about if it was coming about at the cost of the interest of the Chinese companies.
Mr. President, you had the framework that's been agreed to with TikTok, for example. Will China continue to have a stake in the company?
Well, we haven't decided that, but it looks to me, and I'm speaking to President Xi on Friday for confirmation of that, and, frankly, more importantly, a big deal. And we've had very good meetings. As you know, we were in Europe, our people, Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer, and others. And it was a very big meeting with China. And, they're treating us with respect. We treat them with respect, too. But it was very successful. And on top of it, we have what could be a very good deal. Don't forget, I've had more people say, could you try and keep TikTok alive? I use TikTok. I mean, I have to admit it, in the election, and look how I did with you. No Republicans come close.
We have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal, but we do have a framework for a deal with TikTok.
And with that, we're taking a very quick break. Back with a whole lot more on the other side. To stay with us.
Everything changed when I decided to follow my passion and build a brand around what I love. We're finished there, and we're powered by Shopify.
Some people think life slows down in your 50s, but I've got a few rounds left to go. And I don't want my lot to have to worry about funeral costs. Let them spend their money on nicer things. So I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period, unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover. With Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one, and you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over-50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 380 0060 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
You need to know the truth about the abuse the world's donkeys are suffering. It's suffering that's often hidden from view in cramped, filthy pens, where they endure lives filled with fear and pain. Pain that cuts deep and wounds right to their very hearts. It's shocking to even think it, but right now, so many of the world's donkeys are being poisoned by plastics or being worked to exhaustion. And the truth is, to some, these innocent animals are worth more dead than alive. We can't leave them to suffer like this. Please, will you join us in the fight to protect our precious donkeys? You can by calling 0800 035 9309 and giving £2 a month to the Donkey Sanctuary. When you do, you will help us rescue and care for donkeys here in the UK and defend them from cruelty all around the world. We are working tirelessly to create a better world for donkeys, but we can only do it with your help. So please call 0800 035 9309, text TRUTH6 to 78866, or search Donkey Truth to give £2 a month to the Donkey Sanctuary. Because the world's donkeys need you to protect them right now.
You might think people our age spend all day twiddling our thumbs. Well, yes, that does happen. You see, becoming more, shall we say, experienced has its advantages. Like Saga's 5-star rated car insurance, designed for people over 50. That protects your no-claim discount, even if you're hit by an uninsured driver. There's a reason it's award-winning. Call or visit saga.co.uk for a quote today.
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest when it comes to the conflict as far as Gaza is concerned. This is a fresh tension in the Indo. We are talking about, the situation as far as Gaza is concerned with this new offensive that has taken place. And this comes close on the heels of what Marco Rubio had gone on to say. Marco Rubio there, being in support of what was really said by Netanyahu and saying that it's aimed at rooting out Hamas. The operator is an escalation as far as the war is concerned that has been going on for almost 2 years and is expected to increase, and the death toll is also expected to go up. Ghazali joining us in order to get us the latest. Ghazali, take us through what's really happened here in this very fresh offensive that is being reported from the ground.
See, after Marco Rubio left Tel Aviv yesterday, when he was there for a 2-day visit to Israel, both Mr. Rubio and Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, clearly said that they want the ground offensive to continue in Gaza. They want demilitarization of the region as well as Hamas to lay down its arms. And to achieve those results, Israel will have to intensify its ground operation or military operations in Gaza. And this is exactly what happened yesterday overnight when Israel continued to bombard the civilian areas in Gaza City. And most of those areas or buildings which came under attack was something where the civilians have been camping after intense war which has been going on for the last 2 years. Israel continues to claim that these were the places where which are declared as Hamas hideouts, but the local civilians have been contradicting it for as many days, that Israel continues to displace them from north to south, south to central Gaza, and then to other places. But what is very evident from this attack is that Israel has got a green light from United States to continue with its military operations and also ensure that Hamas is eliminated in the region. But for the last 2.5 years now, since this war has broken out, or the attack in Gaza has broken out, it is widely believed, both in US administration as well as in Israeli military establishment, that Israel has not been able to achieve most of its war goals, be it dismantling Hamas completely or even getting all the hostages back with through the military operations.
Thank you so much, Kasali, for getting us the very latest from Gaza. Moving on now, in a fresh round of tensions taking place in the Indo-Pacific, it's the Chinese and the Filipino Coast Guard that clashed as far as the South China Sea is concerned. As the Chinese Coast Guard fired water cannons at Philippine ships. This is near the disputed shoal, accusing Manila of an illegal intrusion and the ramming of one of its vessels. The incident that took place, this comes a week after China announced plans in order to turn the shoal into a national nature reserve, raising tensions over the strategic shipping route as far as this route is concerned. That has been a flashpoint over sovereignty and fishing access in a vital shipping route carrying more than 3 trillion in annual trade. My colleague Disha Bagchi joining us in order to get us the latest on this. Disha, take us to China's Coast Guard there, retorting to water cannons, and this is near the shoal, accusing Manila of that illegal intrusion and ramming of one of its vessels.
Absolutely, again, a fresh tensions, a fresh flashpoint, this time in the Indo-Pacific, specifically this Scarborough Shoal, which has been a very disputed region between China and Philippines in the South China Sea for decades now. And the tensions in this region have been escalating over the past couple of months. We, in fact, just last month saw a Chinese Coast Guard ship clashing with another one of its own while they were trying to, again, shoot these water cannons at Filipino vessels. But just to give our viewers some context as to why the shoal even matters and what really triggered this latest tension, this really came after last week China announced that they were in fact going to build a nature reserve on this shoal, which is a disputed territory. And Manila, of course, protested, lodged a strong protest against this move. Now China, of course, claims that it is Manila who's been intruding over this region and trying to take over it, while Manila claims its sovereignty over the shoal. But this shoal itself is in the middle of the South China Sea, a region that China has been very aggressive in. And as you mentioned, again, a very key trade route in the Indo-Pacific. So really the shoal itself is named after this British vessel, which is, in the region, which is, crashed into the region a couple of decades ago, and has this region, in fact, becomes crucial for trade. And we have to see what really happens next between China and Philippines. The tensions had reduced, but again, with this latest attack, there is scope that it could escalate again.
Thank you so much, Disha, for getting us the very latest. This is the latest standoff, the latest tension that has erupted as far as China and Philippines is concerned. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thank you so much for watching.
Yes, we've won £1,000! Play bingo at Tombola for free in September, where a £1,000 full house prize will be won every day. Open for fun.
When I woke up, they said, Alyssa, you've got leukemia. We found out that the chemo wasn't working.
Cancer is still the biggest killer of children in the UK, but innovative new treatments could help beat cancer for more children like Alyssa.
I'm cancer-free now.
Text, call or search to give £3 a month and help build a new children's cancer centre at Great Ormond Street Hospital. So together, we can save more lives.
You can count on Stayshore, the UK's favourite travel insurance provider. We specialise in cover for over 50s with pre-existing medical conditions. And there's no age limit. Whether you're planning an epic, once-in-a-lifetime adventure or revisiting your favourite holiday spot one more time, we offer cover for single or multiple trips throughout the year. Stayshore Travel Insurance, the UK's favourite. Get your quote online or give us a call today. Sale now on.
Sometimes it's the little things that remind us of them. Stay close, even when you're far apart. Send money worldwide with Remitly.
Unexpected expense? Drafty's got your back. Borrowing £100 for a month costs less than £6. Apply at drafty.co.uk.
When you love donkeys as much as I do, it's really hard to believe that anyone could hurt them. But so many in the UK are suffering right now. Donkeys like Timmy and Tommy. We found them imprisoned in filthy conditions, desperately underweight and in terrible pain. And Echo, He had been abandoned and left with overgrown, twisted hooves. Every step he took was agony. He couldn't have survived like this much longer. Donkeys are such beautiful, sensitive animals, and it's so wrong knowing that they're still being mistreated in our country today.
If you care about what happens to our precious donkeys, please, will you do something to help protect them? You can by calling 0800 035 7805 and giving £2 a month to the Donkey Sanctuary. When you do, you will help a welfare advisor like Sally rescue donkeys and bring them to safety. You'll help us treat the sick, heal the injured, and give them all the love they need.
It's amazing to see donkeys finally have the happy lives they so deserve.
So please, help us keep our donkeys safe from harm. Call 0800 035 7805 or text Rescue 6 to 78866 and give £2 a month to the Donkey Sanctuary. Because so many donkeys like Timmy and Tommy are cruelly suffering. Please help us protect them right now.
So my friends commented that I was looking so good and asked if I had something done.
When I saw the results, I thought, wow. New No. 7 Future Renew Night Serum. Reverse visible signs of skin damage at night.
Look, just a tiny tweak to my night routine.
Wow. 100% clinically proven results. New No. 7 Future Renew Night Serum. No filler, no filter, just results.
Elevate your everyday with David Lloyd Clubs. Try a 3-month membership today.
The meeting is expected to take place on September 25th on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. Some other nations, some Arabic nations could also be there, such as Qatar. The topics of discussion in that meeting is expected to be Pak floods, India-Pak ties, also the consolidated ties that the US has established with the Pakistani side in the recent past, in the wake of the Operation Sindoor. All of these topics will be discussed, is what the Pak media is claiming at the moment. We are yet to hear, as I mentioned earlier, official confirmation, but this won't come as a surprise because, as you rightly mentioned, many of these parleys have taken place in the recent past. We have seen that Asim Munir has visited Pakistan multiple times in the last 6 months. Pak PM Shehbaz Sharif will also be there in this meeting. What the trio will decide remains to be seen. But some reports also suggest that the Israeli attack on the Doha soil just a few days ago, that could also come up during the meeting. So these are some of the big topics of discussion that we are expecting from the meet. But of course, as I mentioned, the official confirmation awaits.
Right, so that is the report coming in. Breaking news here on NDTV 24/7 that Donald Trump and Shehbaz Sharif are likely to meet in the 3rd week of September on the sidelines of the UNGA. This comes at a time, of course, when the focus has been on the warming of ties, Vishal, between the two countries.
As I mentioned, repeated parleys have taken place between US and the Pakistani side, and experts have suggested that Pakistan has used this opportunity to consolidate its ties with the US, and that seems to be the case because US has also extended a warm welcome hand towards Pakistan. Some really privileged meetings were held between both the sides. Asim Munir was granted one of the most secretive sites in the US administration, which is not reserved from some of the big state heads that visit the US. So these are some of the things that have happened in the recent past, but we'll have to see what exactly goes on during this meeting because there are too many things happening in the background. As I mentioned, we are still in the wake of the big Operation Sindoor, and also the fact that there was a big attack on the Qatari soil from the Israeli side, which has sort of enraged and riled up the Arabic side. So all of those discussions would also prop up, is what the reports are suggesting. But what Trump says to both the Pakistani leaders, both Asim Munir and Shehbaz, that will also be closely monitored. And the fact that both Munir and Shehbaz are visiting the US at the same time together, that will also be quite interesting because we've seen both the leaders go to different locations with different timelines. So this time they are sort of going to visit the US at the same time. So that will also be interesting to be seen, because Asim Munir, many experts have suggested that is the de facto leader of Pakistan. Shehbaz Sharif is, of course, the PM, but Asim Munir is the one calling the shots. So we'll have to see how this meeting unfolds.
Also, this is a high-level engagement, the second since perhaps June this year, where you saw the army chief meeting with Donald Trump, Vishal. But of course, regional security will also be an issue, apart from what we are talking about in terms of Operation Sindoor, the fallout, the praise that Munir got even from Trump. The focus will also be on the conflicts, really, one of them being Palestine and Israel.
And just to give a perspective, we just talked about the Doha attack that Israeli regime executed. Israel wanted to execute some of the top leaders of Hamas that negotiate with the Israeli side. That has been condemned by the Arabic population and the Arabic leaders in general. So that is expected to come up. And of course, that pertains to the larger Israel-Hamas war that has gone on for almost 2 years now, killed more than 60,000 people only in Gaza, and also about 2,000 people on the Israeli side. So all of that will definitely play out. Regional conflicts are aplenty right now at the moment. Israel-Hamas war is one. We just had the...
At this point, Aditya, another high-level engagement between Pakistan and the US. This time, reports state that Shehbaz Sharif could be meeting Donald Trump on the 22nd of September on the sidelines of the UNGA.
Well, that's right. That's the news coming in from Islamabad. The Pakistani media also reporting there would be a big meeting between the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and the US President Donald Trump. This is weeks after the Operation Sindoor got over, and the United States had been claiming more than 40 times publicly that Trump and the US administration had a role in the ceasefire. Interestingly, in this big meeting on the sidelines of the UNGA session, Shehbaz Sharif will be accompanied by the Pakistani military chief, the army chief, Asim Munir. So Field Marshal Asim Munir will be part of that meeting. And you would remember, Vedika, that just a few days ago, Asim Munir was hosted by Donald Trump at the White House. They had a meal together, they had a discussion together, and thereafter he was again in Asim Munir was again in the United States for the farewell of the US CENTCOM chief. So clearly there's been a lot of diplomacy that's underway between Islamabad and DC, but we'll have to wait and watch when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to counter-terrorism and collaboration on defense and technology. There's been great achievement between New Delhi and DC. So will Trump change his position yet again when it comes to terrorism, Operation Sindoor, and the Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed's attacks against India? Or will there be a recalibration? We'll have to wait and watch after that big meeting really takes place in Washington, D.C. But certainly, the news coming in right now that Sharif, the Pakistani Prime Minister, along with the Pakistani military chief Asim Munir, would be engaging and holding bilateral meeting with Donald Trump on the sidelines of the UNGA. They will try to strike a deal with the US, but this also comes at the backdrop of a lot of terror attacks conducted by Pakistan in India, and India would be certainly watching that meeting very closely.
Diplomatically also, Aditya, Shehbaz Sharif will be hoping that this is more of a successful trip than his trip to China for the SCO meet.
Oh, well, that's right, Vedika. We saw those visuals of Sharif being isolated completely, and that sent a very, demoralizing impact in the Pakistani bureaucracy, politics, and the security forces as well, because Pakistan calls China an iron brother. But during the SCO, there was a huddle and, more bonhomie between Putin, Modi, and Xi Jinping. And Pakistani Prime Minister was completely isolated. Nobody seemed to be engaging with him. But this time around now, Sharif trying to hold bilateral meeting with Donald Trump. What will come out of it, only time will tell. But as of now, it does seem that India and the United States seem to be coming back on track.
Yes.
There's a reset in the ties after a couple of months of hectic slamming and, negative comments coming in from the Trump administration. So we'll be waiting and watching that meeting very closely, whether there would be any kind of a defense agreement between, Pakistan and United States. But it does seem that Pakistan is desperately trying to woo United States at this stage.
Absolutely. And this big breaking news coming in on a day when you have India and US resetting in terms of trade talks. You have the delegation here in New Delhi and the talks are underway over trade. Aditya, thanks for joining me live. We're going to wrap out of this and hand over to Sam Daniel for Southern View now.
Thank you, Vedika. Hello and a warm welcome to the Southern View. I'm Sam Daniel from Chennai. I'll also be joined by my colleague Vijay from Chennai, Umar Sudhir from Hyderabad, and Deepak Bopanna and Ritu from Bengaluru for all the news from the southern part of India. Let's begin with news from Tamil Nadu. An artificial intelligence tool generated video showing DMK founder Annadurai endorsing TVK chief actor Vijay ahead of the 2026 elections has gone viral and has touched a raw nerve in a sense. In that video, which appears to be a mix of archive footage and AI-generated images, Annadurai is seen endorsing actor Vijay and complimenting him for making rationalist icon Periyar to be the policy leader of the TVK. Annadurai also tells Vijay that just like the way the youth were behind him in 1967 when he was catapulted to power in Tamil Nadu, now a battalion of youth are behind Vijay and that they would elevate him to the chief minister's chair, and it's time Tamil Nadu makes Vijay the chief minister, he says. In that video, Annadurai, the DMK founder, is also seen slamming the ruling DMK on issues of family politics and also for selling liquor through the government and snatching away the little money the poor people have. For quite some time, actor Vijay has been invoking the legacy of the DMK founder, former Chief Minister Annadurai, who won elections in 1967, replacing the then Congress government. And he has been saying that the 2026 assembly elections in Tamil Nadu would see a repeat of both 1967 elections and the 1977 elections, which catapulted Annadurai and later MGR to power. The DMK calls this cheap tactics by TVK, and that people would understand what they call this deep fake video. This is what DMK spokesperson Saravanan Annadurai had to say.
See, I take offense when you say it is an AI video. It is a fake video, a deep fake. A fake as the ideology of the TVK party. See, if they think that people are going to be fooled by such fake videos, we pity them. This is unacceptable. I don't think the youth are going to be fooled by such AI videos. They know the impact. They're not going to be fooled by these fake, deep fake videos. It shows the political immaturity of the TVK. Whoever has done this, whoever has created this, the question would be, are the persons who have created this video, the political party which has created this video, following the footsteps of Perariyaranna?
Certainly, AI appears to be playing a key role already in the run-up to the 2026 Tamil Nadu elections. And how would voters take this? That's something to wait and watch. Breaking story again. AMMK Chief TTV Dinakaran has slammed AIADMK founder EPS a day after EPS claimed that it was the BJP at the center that had saved the AIADMK government in Tamil Nadu after Jayalalitha died, and that it was a mark of gratitude that the AIADMK has revived ties with the BJP. He also claimed that never the BJP at the center had intimidated the AIADMK and they were only doing good. But TTV Dinakaran, who recently walked out of the NDA, called it utter lies by EPS. Joining me now, my colleague Vijay. Vijay, what exactly EPS is now talking about? Before we go to EPS, Vijay, tell me about why is actor Vijay so particular about the legacy of DMK founder Annadurai?
Some, you know that I guess AI video would play a huge role in upcoming 2026 election. For our now we got AI video from TVK. You know, Annadurai plays a very major role in Tamil Nadu politics since 1967. That was the year